Welcome to World Chef Podcast. I'm your host, Ragnar Fredriksson, and you're listening to World on a Plate. I've got with me today Krumma Jonsdottir, who is a people development professional, management mentor, and an executive coach that has over 20 years of experience in the hospitality management and training and mentoring with her PhD. She's a PhD candidate in leadership and strategic management and holds a Master of Science in positive psychology and coaching psychology. Wow, I'm trying to get through these words. But also complemented with a Bachelor of Science in Hospitality Management. And so she founded Positive Performance, which is a leadership development venture focusing on future and current leaders' performance in multidimensional well-being, which is going to be our topic today. So hang on to your seats. This is going to be fun. So I want to welcome on the podcast, Krumma. Krumma, welcome on the podcast.
Thank you, Ragnar. Well, I'm so happy to be here.
Hey, for those that don't know, Krumma, she is my fellow countryman. She's from Iceland, just as I am. And she's been living most of her career in France, just as I am. But actually, we never met. There's a small population of Icelanders in France, but we never met until in Barcelona at the HOSCO event. We had to have HOSCO to bring us together. Huh?
Well, thank you, HOSCO.
Thank you, HOSCO. It was a great event at HOSCO, and there's a lot of hospitality professionals. And you held a keynote speech there. It was absolutely baffling. And so we want to talk about that and you know, all these fancy words that I mentioned in the beginning and break it down to what does that imply for our leadership and management and hospitality today? Because your story was really interesting. And I mean, you come from a hospitality background. Maybe you can tell us, just to start with, so how did you sort of embark on this journey and what brought you where you are today?
Yeah, so I'm tempted to say, luck.
Yeah. Chance.
Well, you know, some people say, oh, the harder I work, the luckier I am. So I like that. And at the same time, that's not true. So hard work, perseverance, and I think beyond all, people who believed in me, people who encouraged me. I didn't have a plan. So you can say that I have all my life been going with the flow. I was lucky that I can say I grew up in a gymnast. Okay, so I was always I was a gymnast, just the average gymnast. Yet very early in my life, I learned that the body and the mind, you cannot separate them when it comes to performance, and you cannot separate them when it comes to well-being. So there's something totally intuitive that, you know, I was brought up in this atmosphere, this dynamic, and I believe that genetically I am a very positive and optimistic person. So I always see the bright side of things, to an extent that people really get. You know, I can be very, very annoying on that side because I kind of optimistic things. And when I came to France with my backpack, with a very poor French, the only industry that welcomed me was hospitality. Right. So I started in restaurants, and then very quickly I went to Disney. There I discovered hospitality. And actually I was this person who thought that everyone knew more than I did. So really I was pushing myself to learn. I was maybe a little bit like this. And so when I discovered reception, I was like, oh, what's this? Reservation, move to reservation. What's this? Yield management, move to yield management. What's this? Sales. And so I actually have done so many things. I've never been in the kitchen, I have to admit. Maybe one day.
But most other things. So from gymnastic to a waitress to
exactly to reception to
then management, yield management,
to management, to all that. And always with this, I wanted to be a sport teacher. I wanted to be a gymnast trainer. Well, that didn't happen. But in all my career in hospitality, I was always involved in training. And training and development and so things. So naturally, I moved after a few years, after many, many years, and years in XCOMs, teams and so on, I moved to training and coaching in hospitality. I was lucky to be in a team where we were managing actually the training for 650 hotels in Europe. And then I moved to higher education. So actually, to answer your question, how how did I get to this here? I think that thanks to my very diverse career and to my personality, I now have this unique recipe, this unique. When I come in front of professionals, very often, I can say I've been there. I know what you're living, and that helps me to create the programs that I'm creating and to really be a good mirror, because a coach is a mirror, a good mirror for the professionals and future leaders that I am, working with.
And when you say you have been there, I remember from your speech at the HOSCO event that you said that 89% of hospitality managers are experiencing burnout as we speak, and they are still at work. So what does that really tell us about our industry and our management and leadership methods? Are we really behind? Are we dinosaurs?
Well, I have to correct you there, Ragnar, because my research was 2019. So before
it's worse today.
So I did a revamp of the research in 2022, and I found actually the same results. What does it say? Actually, my research was very, very interesting, because this was not the only outcome. The outcome of having these 89% of hospitality managers, whatever kind of manager, sales manager, director, whatever, corporate manager, being very close to crash down. At the same time, 40% said that they were satisfied with life. Okay. And I was like sitting there in front of my stats, I'm like, this can't be.
So that's helpful.
And I think that tells us a lot about our industry. There's another statistic, you'll see I love statistic, that came out, was that, the work orientation. It is sad that people have 1 out of 3 work orientation. Either you work, it's a job, pay the check. Either it's a career, it's a way to move up the leadership ladder, social status, whatever, or it's vocation. And actually, science says that it's always 30, 30, 30, whatever level you go, whatever industry you go. And I couldn't get that results. I actually had more than 45% were like career, 45%, around 45% were vocation, and then only 10% looked at job. So when you have a vocation, well, you tend to say yes to overwork. You tend to say yes to more projects. You tend to say yes to the team member who is struggling. And I think that is, burnout. And this is my subjective view on burnout. And I might offend some academics. I don't think burnout only comes from negative things. For me, burnout is just, if you take the candle and there's wax and there's a flame, burnout is just where you don't have any more wax. So I believe that hospitality people are maybe burning out, or burning at least, because of their vocation, because of their devotion to the client. And, we all want to please.
They have burning desire to do
burning desire. Wow, love it. I'm going to steal that from you.
And so, yeah, no, that's really interesting, because I mean, I'm back to the HOSCO event, because I always say it's a great event because there are so many people with different nationalities, or whether they have different religion, I don't know, or different ages and different position within hospitality, but they all had something in common. It's hospitality. And I don't think, and this is such a dynamic event, and I don't think you would have this sort of dynamic event at the brain surgeon convention, or I don't know, sorry.
Well, you took an example, but I do believe that you have, because that's also a field of vocation.
Right, okay, so that was a bad example, but the Plumbers Association. I don't know.
Why not? I think we can find it everywhere, but yeah, well.
I do think, it's a special species of people of, in hospitality that, they would have another characteristic, but there's that dynamism of hospitality people coming together. And probably a lot of passion and calling and vocation behind choosing this. But I guess this, we had another speaker in our podcast, Wanda Gropelar, who was doing her research on stress management, and what she was saying is I mean, stress is a part of our business, but also we need to look into we select the right people for the right situations, and I guess we need to prepare people in schools already in hospitality schools, prepare them for how to manage that stress. And again, maybe that's a part of, you know, what you say, the well-being. Do you think that, because you started in athleticism, and you also, I know you made some comparison to on stage acting, to be an actor. What can hospitality learn from those in terms of psychological well-being or stress management?
Well, okay, it's a big question, and many questions in one, actually. I could spend 3 weeks answering that.
You've got 30 seconds.
So I think we should look at emotional labor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that was the message I was giving at Hosco, is that hospitality is emotional labor. And I think we need to accept that, and I think we need to embrace it. Okay, let's just accept that we're on stage. And actually, like 40 years ago, there was a researcher who his name was Hochschild, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, who described us, hospitality people, as actors. And so the waiter is an actor. The hotel and the restaurant and the kitchen is the scene. Okay, and you have to please the audience. You have to respect the standards. You have to respect the script. And moreover, if we talk about management, well, the manager is also an actor, because he or she is in the lobby. They are acting. Okay, and at the same time, they need to make sure that everyone else is having the resources and all the elements to do their acting. So they're doing everything. So of course that comes with stress. And actually, when you come to how can we prepare, because I'm really focused on preparing future leaders, is just accept that and prepare. No, it's going to be tough. It's going to be fun. It's going to be challenging. And we need to manage our emotional intelligence. And I will not go into details here, but we have 3 levels of emotional intelligence. There's surface acting, meaning that there is no alignment with how I feel and what I'm showing. You know, am I genuinely smiling with my eyes and my mouth when I'm talking to you, or am I faking it? I actually have a class for leaders that it names you know, the fake it until you make it thing.
Right.
But my class is fake it until you don't make it anymore.
Right.
Because we can't fake it. Then you have deep acting, where you're convincing yourself, and you can do that from time to time. You're convincing you of an emotion that you're expressing, projecting. Both of these things are the greatest recipe for burnout. Then there's authentic acting. And if we really identify how we like to function, how we prefer to act, and then we extend that way of being, we are authentic leadership, authentic management. There is space for that. And that is so multidimensional well-being. To conclude on that, I'm exceeding the 30 seconds, is about taking, again, the mind and the body into consideration. And I'm actually following a model that is called PERMAV. And PERMAV, you can measure it very specifically. And that's the research I'm doing as a PhD candidate. PERMAV is positive emotions, so PERMAV, positive emotions, relationships, meaning, accomplishment, the performance, and vitality, taking care of my body. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think, like, if I understand in my very simplistic mind, so like, if you really adhere to the place you're working for, let's say it's your hotel, and you adhere to the values, and you are really authentically, you want to give your best, then that will shine through. That will shine through to your customers and your colleagues. And is that like your physical? That is what creates a well-being, that you are not having to fake it when you're at your job situation, acting.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And thank you for explaining it like that, because what we are doing in the schools, and this is what we're doing specifically, I've been doing when I was the general manager of the Ferrières Hospitality and Luxury Management School, is that we're helping students to identify what kind of hospitality fits them. Because we have such a range, okay? When you go to a hospitality management school, sometimes people are saying, okay, you're doing this hospitality management school because you want to work in a high-end hotel. No, I'm doing a hospitality management school because I want to work in hospitality, and there is all the areas. If my personality fits kind of a high-end luxury, very exclusive area, fine, I'll go there. Okay, if my personality fits more like the corporate headquarters, supportive service, I'm going there. And if my personality is kind of more the friendly lifestyle, economical business side, I'm going to go there. Whatever, if I'm in the kitchen, if I'm in the reservation, if I'm in what, and that's the thing. However, we need to reflect and find the thing. And the same thing about being a manager or an expert. For many years, there was this thing that you had to become a manager. And today we are working on that, is that you don't have to become a manager. You can have the greatest career never managing people. You can become the expert. And this is also what we were, when I was at Ferrières, we were even having special conversation with parents because they didn't understand why their master student child was being commis banquet or commis kitchen, but this is what they wanted.
Yeah. And so actually it's just to be aligned with yourself. And I guess this is really important. And I think we'll talk more about your experience at Ferrières, the hospitality management schools. But I guess, this is really important for a business to understand that their employees need to be aligned with themselves, because otherwise they're going to actually be under too much stress. And this is where they are disaligned and sort of feel trapped. I mean, just to how important this is. I mean, how closely linked is the staff well-being to a business performance? Can we measure this? What are the benefits for a business leader to understand this?
I think you could even go just to life. Okay, when you don't sleep well, okay, you wake up. Okay, you might be irritated. You might realize that you're slow to make decisions. Okay, stress creates tiredness, exhaustion. Okay, stress in some levels can be good. Okay, because that's adrenaline. This is how we're wired. So we can measure it. So first of all, we can measure performance. We can measure in every single level. We can measure the customer satisfaction. We can measure the hygiene in restaurants. We can measure performance. So we have data there. And then we can measure well-being. Okay, so when we see, and this has something that, for example, Harvard Business Review has been working on this for years, and there is something that they call the service profit chain, and they looked at companies who were profitable, performing for many years. Okay, and they found out that first of all, it was the leadership that was behind the results. So first, you have the leadership. Okay, how you are treating your staff, how you're treating your people, psychological safety, authenticity, space for authenticity, job crafting, meaning that I can arrange my job a little bit or my schedule a little bit within the frame. And that created employee experience. And actually, once you have a positive employee experience, then you decide as an employee, am I satisfied? Am I not? Am I stressed? Am I not? Am I coming, let's take receptionist. I was a receptionist for a while. I was taking the first metro, having a bike, going on my bike to the metro, being afraid that someone would steal my bike, taking the first metro, coming into the office. And I remember, I will not say his name, but I remember that I was tetanized by the night manager because I knew that my perception that he had spent the whole night to find something wrong with my cashier from the day before. That's stress. That comes from leadership. And this is a moment where I decide, am I satisfied or not? And this is going to define my behavior. Because if I come in all this stress in the morning from 5 o'clock to I'm taking my shift on 6:50, could be the same thing in the kitchen, could be the same thing in all the services. And I'm so stressed out, I come to the desk and I'm doing the first checkouts. What is the quality of my checkouts? What are the lengths of my checkouts? What are the exactitude? What is my performance? So basically, there's a total link to that. And then actually you go to, in this Harvard Business Review research, then you imagine the chain, then you go to the customer experience. My behavior is leading to the customer experience.
A negative cycle.
Customer satisfaction, customer behavior. And then you can go to brand loyalty and profit. So it's totally linked. And there's another Oxford research that, like 22, that showed clear financial links between stress, staff well-being, and results.
Right, like sick days and turnover, staff turnover, and things like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Directly.
Absolutely.
And so with Ferrières, because what is interesting is that talk us through your project with Ferrières, which your
journey. I was working with Ferrières.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, really to actually work on the students. The people are actually already they're still at school, and so to prepare them for the future careers.
Exactly. That's my mission. If you I don't have it like that, but I could put on a tagline under my business saying from positive higher education to positive and performing organizations, because I am working with senior leaders, middle managers, and all that, and very often I'm repairing, okay, and I want to reduce that. And when you work with the students, you set the conditions for success. Like I said, you help them to find their way. So what we did at Ferrières, I was working there for over 7 years. And what we did with Mr. Fruzetta, Pierre Frangier, and the whole team is that with my positive psychology backgrounds, we actually implemented a whole school approach on positive education. So positive education is when, it's quite simple, it's when you decide, and you really need to decide from the top management to the administration, that the student's well-being is as important than that all the academic, professional, technical acquisition. You can never separate that. So you have a whole school approach, meaning that you review your school regulation, you review your admission process, you review your onboarding. For example, we had, and they still have, a 360 degrees cognitive reset seminar when the students come to school. So we're taking off all the stress. Taking off the stress is a big word, but we're helping them to understand the stress from the society, the stress from the parents, the stress that they're putting on themselves. And we kind of peel the onion and say, okay, now we just have you kind of naked. And now, of course, they're not naked, but kind of the metaphorical thing. And then we build. And they have classes. They have classes on optimism. They have classes on perfectionism. They have classes on ignorance. They have classes of some hard stuff like harassment and all that. Every week. Wow. They have, depending on the program, they have individual coaching. And they have, since this September, I have implemented, because I'm still working with them, a mental fitness, a unique mental fitness program where they learn about mental health, psychology, flow, and so on.
That's just amazing, and because this subject comes so often, even in this podcast, of how do we prepare people, their body, mind, and soul? How do we prepare young people to work in our industry?
Exactly.
It's great that you're like, because we had a lot of nice statements in the beginning of this podcast, but this is really, you're telling us how you put your words into actions. And so you created from this the positive performance leadership program. So this is completely transposable to organizations.
It is.
Organizations.
That's the thing. That's the thing. So basically, the thrive to perform, perform to thrive. If you look at it, I have to thrive to perform. This is what we started to talk about. Yet we can also accept that I have to perform to thrive. I need to see accomplishment. Okay, it's just like when we're painting a wall, we want to see the progress, and we need that. So the main program that I'm running at Positive Performances, in addition to the coaching and the education, is this mental fitness program, and it's also a part of my research. So of course, I need the maximum of people taking part of it. So basically, you start by filling out the PERMAV questionnaire. That's an official questionnaire from the University of Pennsylvania that I have the authorization to use. And then you go into a program. And depending on the organization, depending on the school, you can choose levels. Either you just have the online training on mental health, the mental fitness program, or you take that plus conferences, or you can even take that plus individual coaching. I'm now working with 3 schools, not only hospitality, but 3 schools are doing that. And then after 8 or 12 weeks program, we measure again. So actually, when it comes back to the organizations, we can measure if it is schools, we can measure the academic progress. If there's a change in academic progress, we can, and we will see if there's a change in well-being. And what we do see is there's a huge shift in loneliness, anxiety, and overall well-being. Do it in organization, we're going to do exactly the same thing, and we're going to replace the academic performance evaluation with some kind of a financial, sales, guest satisfaction, or whatever kind of indicator the organization would like to use.
Yeah, because I think you showed us at your keynote speak at HOSCO some of the results, even during the hardship of COVID, of how that sort of helped to maintain the psychological well-being of your students throughout the years of where the isolation was actually.
That was something that we were really, really proud of. Of course, when COVID hit, we were like, oh my God, you know, we are a hospitality management school. We are having, you know, accord mets et vins. We are having, you know, wine and food pairing classes. How on earth are you going to do that online? So we were doing that, you know, what do you have in your fridge? I got orange juice and camembert. Fine. What can we do with that? So we had to continue. And actually, Ferrières did not cancel one single class. And we were really proud. So coincidence or not, we started this measurement, the research I talked about, in September 2019. So we had measurement before COVID. And when we measured again in March 2020, where we were having all the statistics, crazy statistics about students' ill-being, not well-being, but ill-being, the Ferrières students were moving up. They were increasing by 1 and 1.5, and still we were having foreigners, hospitality management school, you know, international students who couldn't go home, who were in this, you know, single piece studio, 8 square meters or 10 square meters in Paris or outside Paris, all by themselves. So you had all the conditions not to be okay, and still they were progressing. So that is something that Ferrières is very, very proud of.
What did you say was the factor there that helped them maintain their psychological well-being? Is it the continuing the webinars, continuing just the
relationship? Every single day we had 1.5 hour webinar with interaction with the students, where we took. Yeah, it was fun. We took like 5 minutes cardio. So we were doing jumping jack, 200 students and parents and partners on the screen. My kids were not totally agreeing with my behavior there, but singing and dancing, head, shoulder, knees and toes in all the languages. And then we took like 15 minutes on something very specific. Like I said earlier on, we talked about the genetics of happiness or some kind of a very serious element, mindfulness and so on. And then actually, and that is the key in well-being, there was the moment of sharing. And I have so many memories of students just like this. One of the students dedicated to Charles, he wrote a song, and he was singing a song, you know, about the period and about us, about his girlfriend too. And Mary, for example, she was showing us what she was sewing. She went back to sewing. And so this sharing, this authenticity, and actually it showed us, it was also a proof of trust to us, is that because of the positive education whole school approach, the students felt okay they were vulnerable, you know, and we've had the students and the parents were saying hello behind, and the dogs and the cats and all that. So there was relationship. So if I go back to PERMAV, we had positive emotions happening. We also had some tears and stuff. Of course, students were showing us their pastry and the cakes, lots of cakes. So we had positive emotions, we had relationship, we had meaning, and we were accomplishing something. And with the jumping jacks, we were also having vitality.
Amazing. And so you intervene in both corporates, in education, in schools, and also you mentioned that your program is accessible online.
Yep.
So we will put on this podcast, we'll put all the links on the podcast so people can go and have a look at, so it's Positive Performance, positiveperformance.com perhaps, or
org. Because we're a mission enterprise.
Absolutely. And so we'll put that link on the website. Who is that program for? Is it really both for line staff as much as leaders,
everyone,
managers?
It's for everyone on this earth. So my mission is to convince actually higher education and organizations to add mental health, multidimensional well-being in what they do, whether it's training programs, whether it is just, you know, a brand, employer brand, and whatever. And what I've decided with Positive Performances, so the first level of the mobile app is out, and it's a 10 little courses, mini courses, like 5-6 minutes each, on mental health. It's a mental fitness program. You are educated on what is mental health, what is success, what is flow, and so on, and you have some practice. This first level is going to be free forever for everyone. So if you, as a chef, you do it and you find it interesting, you can invite your teens to do it. You can invite your partner to do it. You can invite your parents to do it, and you can spread it out to the company. This is really, and has been my mission for this last couple of months, to really create something that is helping everyone. So there was one of my mentors a couple of years ago, when I was kind of struggling and identifying, you know, my company when I was creating and that. And he actually said, Krumma, with a very authoritarian voice, if you can help, help. And this is what I want to do. So this is why it's totally, you know, obvious for me that the first level is going to be free forever.
Amazing. And so give us a little bit of a teaser here. So what sort of tools, simple tools or exercises are we talking about that, you know, is to actually increase well-being, reduce stress? What a little, like, what would be my...
Well, I'm going to give it two. I'm going to give it two quick. So one thing that is amazing, and I actually did it, you will remember from Hosco, is interest. That we, and this is something that is good, is easy for us, hospitality. We can be interested without being interesting. So if I ask you, Ragnar, what was the best thing that happened to you yesterday? Tell me. Whatever.
I had a nice glass of wine after work.
Beautiful. Okay. So we can have a conversation about that, and then you can ask me the question. And actually just having this conversation, I'm showing you interest. I'm showing you curiosity. I'm showing you kindness, and I can go on. And this can provoke up to 40 positive emotions. And just having these kind of interest questions is going to create positive relations, positive emotions. There's going to be meaning in a relationship, and so on. Okay. Then there's another, and this is something I really recommend to do in family and at work. The other one is that something that I have been developing that I use on myself, not every day, but very often, and I use in my classes and my training, is 3-2-1. Experience is nothing if you don't reflect on it. Okay. So whenever you go out of a meeting, whenever you go at the end of the day, it can be the worst day ever that happens. Okay. It's not because I'm positive psychology practitioner that I'm always happy. No. Okay. So 3-2-1. What are the 3 things that you learned today, Krumma? What are the 2 things that you like today? And what is the 1 thing's going to change? This experience, things, or because of this experience, so what? Now what? So it means that every day I'm focusing on learning, and I can learn things about, okay, what my colleague's second name. It doesn't have to be something significant. Okay. I can like we say, glass of wine, moment and family, laughter, whatever. Okay. And then I can think, okay, so what? And when you move in that to the next meeting, to the next day, to sleep, actually you have reset your mind, you have synchronized your mind, and it's going to be very beneficial. And you can do it by yourself. You can also do it with other people. So you get two for the price of one.
Thanks. Thank you so much. So yeah, I'm absolutely going to jump on and learn some more. And I think I urge everybody, our listeners, to do the same, because it's sort of, sometimes when you say it, it seems like common sense, but things that we often forget in the turbulence of the day and the stress.
Exactly.
So that's, really, I want to thank you. We could talk about this for an hour, and I know you have hours of lessons on this subject. So we're not going to go through all of that, but at least we managed to give some taste to our listeners.
I hope so.
Yeah, and absolutely, I'm certain of that, because it is a subject that has become more and more prevalent in when we talk about the future of our industry, and how we develop people, and how we invest in people, and how we attract young people, and how we manage and coach and mentor young people.
Absolutely.
So I want to thank you very much, Krumma, for coming on this podcast.
Thank you.
And thank you for the listeners. So we're going to put everything on our podcast channel for people who want to know more, and they can then reach out to you through the website or what have you. And we can start to build our industry in a more positive manner from a human perspective. And so thank you very much, Krumma, again.
Thank you so much, Ragnar.
And thank you all for listening. So I'm still your host, Ragnar Fredriksson. You're listening to World on a Plate, and this is World Chef Podcast that I hope you'll be signing up to and listening to our next episode in a couple of weeks' time. So everybody, in the meantime, take care, stay safe.